Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about the system architecture and memory management, the part 2 lecture. The debug control register that is we are seen in a previous lectures, that is a debug registers and a debug control registers. As shown in a figure, alien a bit which is of the three breakpoint length specifies the bits. 2-bit field for each breakpoint. Alien specifies the length of the breakpoint fields. The choices of a data breakpoints are a 1 byte, 2 byte, and a 4 byte. For instruction execution breakpoints, the length is 1, beginning byte addresses, as in a alien 3, alien 2, alien 1, alien 0. These are the breakpoint length specifications. Whenever it is a 2, it a bit fields for each breakpoint specify the length for the breakpoints. The choice of the data breakpoints are a 1 byte, 2 bytes, and a 4 bytes. For instruction execution breakpoints, the length is a 1. Length alien encoding. Alien encoding 00, that means it is a 1 byte. So, usage of the least significant bits. Least significant bits, all 32 bits are to be specified single byte breakpoint 01. This is a 2 byte breakpoint field width A1 to A31 use. Specify the 2 bytes word aligned breakpoint fields A0 in a breakpoint addresses as shown in the figure DR0. Okay, registers are not used. 10 breakpoint field width is not defined here, and the usage also not specified. 11, which is of the breakpoint field width is of the 4 byte. A2 to A31 are used to specify the 4 bytes. Debug words align breakpoint fields A0 and A1 in a breakpoint address registers are not used, as here it is of the 32 bits if we are giving from A0 to A31, but here it does not use a A0 and A1 breakpoints. Debug control registers, the bit R and W. Memory address access qualifier bit. It is a 2-bit field for each breakpoint. This field specifies the type of the usage which must occur in order to activate the association breakpoints. Debug register encoding, RW encoding, read or write encoding uses a causing 00 instruction execution only, 01 data writes only, 10 undefined. That means this is not used in this encoding. 11 data reads and writes only. Read write encoding is specified here. 00 instruction executes only. 01, that means a data is writes only. 10 is not defined, that means which is not used in this encoding system. 11 is a data reads and a writes operation. Debug control registers, okay, the field GD which is shown here, the global debug register access detects. Debug register can only access in a real mode or at the privilege level 0 in a protected mode. A GD bit when set provides extra protection against any debug register access even in a real mode or at a privilege level 0 in a protected mode. A debug registers, a global debug register access detects. A GD bit is shown here. Okay. A debug register can only be accessed in a real mode or at the privilege level 0 in a protected mode. A GD bit when set provides extra protection against any debug register access even in a real mode or at privilege levels 0 in a protected mode. Debug register field GE and a LE bit. GE and a LE bit. exact data breakpoint matches global and locally. If either GE or LE is set, any data breakpoint traps will be reported exactly after completion of the instruction that caused the operand transfer. LE bit is clear during the task switch and is used for a task local breakpoints. G and a elevate exact data breakpoint matches global and a local. If either GE or a LE is set, any data breakpoint traps will be reported exactly after completion of the instruction that cause the operand transfer. LE bit is clear during the task switch and is used for a local task local breakpoint. G bit is unaffected during a task switch and remain enabled during all the task execution in a systems. GI and a LI bits means G1, G2, G3, GL1, L2, L3, and L0. I is equal to 0 to 3. Breakpoint enables global and a local. If GI and LI is set, then associated breakpoint is enabled. Here we are discussing the GI and LI bits. The I stands from 0 to 3. That means a G1, G2, G3, and L1, L2, L3. These are the three and breakpoint enables and a global and a locals. L stands for the local and a G stands for the global. If either global 1, global 2, global 3 and local 1, local 2 and local 3 is set, then the associated breakpoint is enabled. Debug default. B1 debug default trap is set to the trap due to the breakpoint 0 to 3. For breakpoint indicator flags B0 to B3 corresponds 1 to 1 with the breakpoint register in the DR0 to DR3. A flag BI is set when the condition described by the DI, alien and a RW occurs. BI means I stands for the 0 to 3 default debug default trap due to the breakpoint. Four breakpoint indicators are there B0 to B3 means B0, B1, B2, B3. Four breakpoints corresponds to 1 with the breakpoint register in a DR0 to DR3. A flag bit B1 is set when a condition described by the DRI, alien I and a RI occur. A debug default value due to attempt register access when the GD bit is set. When a GD bit is set, a debug default attempt register is accessed. This bit is set if the exception one handler was invoked due to an instruction attempting to read or a write to debug register when a GD bit was set. A debug trap due to single step. This bit is set if the exception one handler was invoked due to the TF bit in a flag register being set. BT debug trap due to the task switch. This bit is set if the exception one handler was invoked due to the task switch. BT bit is set if the exception one handler was invoked due to the task switch. Test registers, the linear addresses are as shown in here and a physical addresses are as shown in a figure. TR6 and a TRC1, these are the test registers. The test registers are used to perform the confidence checking on a paging MMU's translation outside look aside buffer TLB, that is a translation looks aside buffer. The method of testing the TLB translation look aside buffer is fairly involved and requires some understanding of the inner working of the TLB and of the cache algorithm in general. Test register 6 is a testing command register. By writing into this register, you can either initiate write directly into the 8036 TLB or perform a mock TLB lookup. Test register 7. TR7 is the TLB testing data register. When a program is performing a writes, the entry to be stored in a containing in this register along with the cache set information. Memory management register, GDTR and IDA, global descriptor table register and a interrupt descriptor table register. This register holds the 32-bit linear addresses and a 16-bit limit for the GDT, that is a global descriptor table, and IDT interrupt descriptor table respectively. A GDT segments are global to all the tasks in a system. IDT is used to locate the gates in an interrupt exception handler. IDT, that is the interrupt descriptor table, is used to locate the gates in the interrupts or a exception handler. LDTR. LDTR is a local descriptor table register, is a 16-bit register always points to the GDT to access the LGTT. That is a local descriptor table descriptor. In turn, responsible for allocating and accessing the local memory via the LDT, local descriptor table. That means LDTR, which is of the 16-bit register, which points to the GDT, and while pointing it to the GDT, it can access the LDTT, and in turns, which is responsible for allocating the accessing local memory via the LDT. Thank you friends for watching the video.